I didn't know anything about not being able to be in the same room with a guy.
Yeah.
Um, on the show, when he tells, Cruz that somebody else, a girl has to be in the room when Cruz is doing my hair, that was the first time I knew that as well. The first time I was hearing that as well.
Hi, Tigerlily. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate you taking the time.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Now, what has it been like sharing your story with Adnan before the 90 days? I mean, it's been such a wild ride for us to watch. How's it been for you to have everyone else get to know your story?
It's been so fun. Like we love sharing our love story. It's a wild one. So we're happy to, share it with everyone. And, it's been nice getting to watch it and relive it, when we're watching the episodes.
Has there been any moment where you're rewatching and you're like, oh my gosh, this is the best? Like, I can't believe that the cameras got to capture this.
Pretty much all of it. I'm like, wow, like I was really there. Like the Petra episode was amazing, and getting to see like the drone footage was just so gorgeous. So I'm like, wow, I was there, and the wedding. Oh my gosh, yeah, the wedding, getting to see all of that because I was like in the moment and I wasn't really like paying attention to everything else going on. So that was really nice to see that too.
That wedding was maybe the most spectacular that we've seen on 90 Day. Were you expecting it to be so elaborate?
I had no idea. I mean, he was telling me about it as he was planning it and like, well, I'm going to do this show and oh, I found this show. I'm going to do this one and add this. But, whether it's the language barrier or me just not really understanding like what it would actually look like I was just blown away whenever I actually saw it in real life.
Oh my gosh. What a blessing to have a husband who is like such a planner, too.
Right. I had no idea that he was going to be capable of pulling off something so amazing.
Well, let's actually go back before the wedding ceremony to your legal wedding. I know going in, you had just landed in Jordan. You're kind of like discombobulated. You're a little nervous going into this. What was it about your relationship with Adnan that had you be like, you know what? Actually, we're going to push forward. We're going to do this.
So I have always wanted, like in my mind, since I was a little girl, I was always like, when I meet someone, I'm gonna know right away, and I want to get married right away. Like
Yeah.
have that whole rush where everything's exciting. And I never had that
Yeah.
until Adnan. So when we first started talking, it was on social media, and then probably about like 2 or 3 days later, we already knew, like, well, I knew that I wanted to marry him, but I didn't say anything, of course. And
Right.
so about 11 days in was whenever he actually said something, and I was like, oh, good, I'm feeling that way too. So let's do it.
I love it. So just like that love at first chat feeling carrying you through the nerves.
Right.
Well,
Definitely.
now we're getting to see your like first days as this married couple. And there's a little bit of adjustment that has to take place. I know you're kind of struggling at this point in the show with the rules about, covering up, not being in the same room with men alone. But how much about that had you and Anand discussed before you went over there?
So I kind of knew about the covering up because when we'd be on, video chat, he would say like, "Oh, you're wearing that," or
Yeah,
something, or where can you change? Can you change your shirt? And so I would be like, "What is it like cleavage showing? Is it my
yeah,
neck? Is it arms? Like, what is it about my outfit so that I know what not to wear again for the future?"
yeah.
Um, so it just all was kind of vague. Like sometimes this showing the arms is okay and sometimes not. So it was just all a bit confusing. So we had kind of talked about the clothing. I didn't know anything about not being able to be in the same room with a guy.
Yeah.
Um, on the show, when he tells, Cruz that somebody else, a girl has to be in the room when Cruz is doing my hair, that was the first time I knew that as well. The first time I was hearing that as well.
Yeah, I mean, and that's a big bomb to be dropped on you whenever there's a lot of other stuff going on. Take me
Mhm.
through how you're processing this internally as we see you on the show, kind of trying to navigate these new lifestyle.
I think at that point, it was so new, and I was like trying to like see how I was going to work this in my life. Like, I don't have guy friends anyway, so it wasn't like I had to make a big adjustment as far as, something like that. The shaking hands thing, that was something that was a big deal for me because even though I don't have guy friends, like I'm a businesswoman and I'm meeting people and that's just part of it is, you shake men's hands. So,
Yeah.
just trying to like navigate that and see how my life in the US would be after I got back home and how I was going to adapt and change things and what that would look like is pretty much what you see on the show right now.
Yeah, and I'm kind of curious where you're at with that now. Like, have you two met in the middle a little bit with it? Have you become more okay with the way that he wanted you to do things? Where are you at there?
So I kind of like it. I like now the place where we're at is you'll see later in the show. I haven't really changed much, but it's, I like it. I think that, as long as both of us are doing the same thing, like if I can't shake a man's hand, he can't shake a girl's hand, as long as it's the same and we're both having that respect for each other, then I'm fine with it. I'm just not fine with it being one-sided or a double standard or something like that.
Right, because that's what we see you in the show kind of bristle at is the hypocrisy side of it. But it sounds like you were able to come to a more of an agreement on that.
Yeah, that's a big thing. I think
Mhm.
if there's a double standard, like I put up with a lot of things, but double standards, no.
Yeah. Well, I'm kind of curious too. You had such a short trip over there. How are we going to see you two move forward this season?
So yeah, so I was only there for 6 days, and you'll see later in the show I take another trip.
Okay.
Um, And so you'll see that, but it's pretty much just, I have my children back home,
Yeah.
so, it's little trips at a time.
That must be tough. You head over, you get married, you have a couple days where there's a lot of new information coming at you, and then you have to head home. How was that for you as you were heading back to the US?
Oh, like heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Like, basically, my heart's in two pieces, right? Like my heart's with him and my heart's with my children, and they're both in different countries. So it's really, it was really difficult saying goodbye.
What was the biggest challenge that you think that you had to navigate as you're moving forward into this next stage of your marriage, but your long distance marriage?
I think just the waiting, not
Mm-hmm.
knowing, what the immigration process is going to look like
Mm-hmm.
and what that would entail and how quickly or how long that would be and how our relationship would be during that time.
Well, I am so excited to see what lies in store for you two in the rest of the season. And I'm curious if watching it back, do you feel like you have learned anything about your own story, either from seeing what other people are saying when you weren't there or just getting to watch situations back?
I think I need to learn to like pay more attention to my surroundings and like
Mm-hmm.
soak in the moment because
Yeah.
like I'm seeing all of these like pretty places and I feel like I didn't really get to experience it fully just because of everything going on. So I think I just need to kind of like overall just slow down, look around me, absorb it all and just take it all in so that way I can, enjoy it more.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, as you're sharing all of this with people, people obviously have comments. They're responding to what they're seeing on TV. Do you feel like there are any misconceptions that you want to clear up for fans or any comments that you feel like people are just getting the wrong idea?
Um, I think the biggest thing would be a lot of people think that, I left my children behind and,
Mm-hmm.
they kind of talk about me as a mother. And
Mm-hmm.
that part, is the most inaccurate because like
Mm-hmm.
I'm a full-time mom. This was the first time I left my children.
Yeah.
And, I was gone for 6 days, but I guess, people watching may not understand like it was only 6 days. They may think like it's an extended amount of time. But I guess it would just be that, my children are the most important thing to me. So, that part is like super inaccurate, and that and then the part about like me marrying a stranger, like my children knew him. Like during those times when we were on video chat, my children were there and my
Right.
children were part of it. He wasn't just marrying me, he's marrying my children too. Like we're a family. So
Right.
that
There's a whole aspect of that that's not being shown.
right, because I can't talk about them. I'm choosing to not have them on the show and, and I don't post them on my social media just for privacy reasons.
Mhm.
So that's something that doesn't really get seen is, how I am as a mom.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, is there a way that of thinking that you think comes from being a mother that affected the way you went into this? Is there anything from your experiences there that you think affected how you handled your marriage and this quick little trip over there?
I think that, yeah, I mean, I definitely, I think it's so important that my children have a family. That's something that they didn't have was having, a mom and a dad that love each other and seeing that love that they have for each other. So just me being able to think of them and have this for them as well and have them experience that, they deserve that. They deserve a family and happiness and seeing what a healthy relationship looks like. So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, and you've said before your past relationships were not very great. This is a good one. Have you learned anything about yourself through this relationship?
I've probably, I mean, I would say I feel like everything that I went through, good
Mhm.
or bad, prepared me for this right now.
Mhm.
Um, Sorry, there's just some construction going on and really loud
Of
noise.
course.
Um, but yeah, I would just say, everything prepared me for where I am today. And so no matter how bad things were in the past, like I'm happy everything happened and I am where I am today.
Oh, that's wonderful. And I know you can't obviously spoil too much about what we're going to see for the rest of the season, but can you tell us generally how you're feeling today? You seem like you're in a really good spot.
I think that yeah, there are a lot of events coming up that you guys will see and I'm excited to share all of that with you. But yeah, there's a lot.
Yeah. Well, if you're watching the show back too, I would love to know, do you have any other storylines that you're watching back that you have strong feelings about? Who is your must see segments?
Oh, I'm not actually watching the
Oh,
other
you're not
content.
watching.
No, I'm
Yeah.
not watching them, but I wish everyone the best. I will see them at the tell-all and I've just been kind of focusing on our love story.
Oh, I love that. Well, is there anything else that you wanted to share with fans about your relationship, about your story, about what's to come?
Not really. I mean, I'm pretty open. I'm happy with how the show's turning out
Mhm.
and I'm overall pretty happy.
So you would return if we were to see you in another season, maybe of 90 Day, Happily Ever After, anything like that.
Oh yeah, I would love to.
Awesome. Well, that's exciting to hear. I can't wait to see the rest of your love story play out. And I can't wait to see what happens at the tell-all. You haven't filmed the tell-all yet, right?
No, not yet.
Okay. Are you excited, nervous?
No, I'm not nervous, just excited.
I'm excited to see it too. Well, thank you so much for talking with me today.
Thank you so much. I enjoyed it.